So, what are we doing? Let me give you an illustration how busy we've been. By Trump's 100th day, we have passed, and he had signed into law, more bills than any president since prior to Ronald Reagan by the 100th day. How many of you knew that? And most of that was draining the swamp. It was regulatory, reining in regulation. Today, the House has passed a record number of bills out of the House since Reagan's presidency. We passed 270 some odd bills, most of them substantive, very substantive bills. Reining in government, reducing the size of government, drawing down regulation. In fact, one of them that we actually passed and the president signed was the VA Accountability Act, which actually allows the Secretary of the VA to fire the bad employees, and guess what? He's already fired 500, and that's just in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But we passed 270 bills out of the House, 53 have passed the Senate. We've been pretty busy. And I'm not throwing my Senate colleagues under the bus, but one of the problems that they're facing is obstructionism out of the left because of the confirmation process. They're smart. They decided we are going to stall the action of the Republicans because they can get some things done now by holding up the confirmation process. Now, the Senate has these convoluted rules, or I don't understand them, but why we have them. You got to have 60 votes to do some things, and there's some things that we can actually do 50, only need 51 votes, which is with budget reconciliation. That's why we're using that for Obamacare, repeal and replace, and we're using it for tax reform because we don't have to have their participation. But their rules also state how many hours of debate confirmations get. So for the major confirmations, you have 30 hours of debate. For the minor ones, there's 10 hours of debate. Traditionally, those second, third, fourth tier confirmations, they just bulk them all at once. They have an hour or two of hearings, and boom, they pass them on because they're not controversial. But the Democrats have been demanding a full 10 hours of debate on everything, so it's slowing down the process of what we've been able to get done. Now, the topic on everybody's mind is the Senate going to pass something on health care? There's still a possibility. Eventually, yes, we will. Let me explain just a little bit about the process we've been going through. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to like whatever they pass, but I'm probably going to vote for it because it's going to come down to a decision. Either we do something, or we're going to continue down the path we're going. And Sir Edmund Burke, he said it this way: the only way for evil to prevail is for good men to do nothing, and I'm not going to do nothing. Did I like the bill that had passed the House? That's not my preference, absolutely not. It's not federalism, but that is absolutely the best we could pass. And I love citing the founding fathers, and I think we need to go back and look at them. Even at our own constitutional convention, they were not totally happy with the Constitution. In fact, Benjamin Franklin, I'd love for you to go look up this quote. Benjamin Franklin basically said, "I am not pleased with the work which we have done. There are several elements of this Constitution that I think is lacking. And when you bring a group of men together, you bring in their prejudices, their biases, and their flawed opinions, which is reflected in this document. But on the other hand, what I think is perfect is what I think is perfect. It doesn't necessarily reflect that which is. And when you bring a group of men together, not only do you bring their prejudices, biases, but you bring their enlightened opinion, which may differ from mine. So even though I think this document is flawed, I am going to vote for it and sign it because I believe it is the best that we can do. And it is much better than the course of which we're on now." This was Benjamin Franklin. Think of what would have happened had we not passed the Constitution. Think of it if what we had not passed the Declaration of Independence. There were serious differences Came down to one vote. Serious differences on the Declaration. But what we're doing can set a course to do more. Now, some people talk about we should just repeal only. The problem I've got repeal, I've never been just a repeal only person. Because if you just repeal Obamacare, it puts us back where we were prior to Obama coming. And you remember the health insurance rates were already skyrocketing. It was one of the catalysts to get to Obamacare. We have to do something different. We have to do something better. If you repeal only through this process, that only takes 51 votes. It means we have to have 60 votes then with whatever we do to replace it, which means Democrats are going to participate. And we already seen what that ideological divide is, an extreme left ideology, a socialism ideology. And in fact, over the past 50 years, Pew Research has done a study that shows that the Republicans in Congress are more conservative as a whole than they have been in 50 years, because those constitutional conservatives in Congress keep growing. So, growing in numbers. So this ideologically divide is there, and the only way that you're going to get a replacement done, and replacement to me is totally get the federal government out of it, or at least get us on a path going in that direction. You've got to include the other side if you don't do some type of replacement now. So Ted Cruz is really working, others are working to get something done. I think that we're going to get something passed. I hope they can get something passed this next week to bring it back over the House.